You are a human on a spaceship crewed by aliens. As your hair dye begins to fade, your crewmates start to worry about your health. Lincoln Broslin, do you have any new health alerts to report? Lincoln sighed. The concept of last names were completely lost to this crew. None of them could understand having two names and only usually using one. He looked at Zevlin. In all his time here he had never settled on what eye he was supposed to look at when speaking to him. He chuckled at the question and leaned back against the wall, disregarding his task momentarily. No, nothing to report. As far as I know, I'm still diabetic. Why? Has the algae completed my next batch of insulin already? I swear it's getting faster each time. The flaps on top of Zevlin's head lowered, revealing small porous holes, a motion that Lincoln had come to associate with nervousness. He crossed his arms, raising an eyebrow. Why? Is there something wrong? Zevlin closed his eyes, leaving the room promptly. He recognized the hiding of bodily organs as a sign of human aggression. Hopefully his exit would keep any potential retaliation at bay. Lincoln finished his work just in time for breakfast. As trays were being distributed, he caught sight of himself in a window. He stared at his reflection. He definitely looked tired. He had bags under his eyes, stubble, and his hair was going from gray back to dark brown. He smiled, remembering his days on Earth when with his best friend Daniel. He had always wanted to dye his hair but was too nervous, so they had a little dye party together before he left on his mission. He held one of the strands loosely before letting it fall back in place. He picked up his tray and gawked at the amount of food piled onto it. It was far more than his usual rations. I think there's been a mistake? When he was ignored by the crew serving the trays, he sat down and ate only the usual amount. You're not going to eat everything? It has plenty of nutrients. A small being that looked similar to a reptile with bird-like proportions climbed up his seat. They were part of the cleaning crew and didn't have specific names, but he always called the largest one Delta. Did you know about this? He asked, gesturing to his tray. Delta nodded slowly. Well, tell them to knock it off. I'm used to a specific amount. I don't want to spike my blood sugar. Delta put his hands together nervously. Diabetes is when one of your organs doesn't work right. Are your other organs, are they working right? Lincoln sighed. This wasn't a conversation he wanted to have with the rat bird so early in the morning. Probably. My kidneys might have more strain, but only time will tell. I've been pretty good at managing everything. Lincoln's ears perked up as two of his crew members dropped off their trays beside his, only half of their meals gone. He was cut off as one of them grabbed him from behind, forcing his arms behind his back. You have enough nutrients, but do you require physical companionship? Humans are communal creatures. Have you been apart from your species too long? Lincoln struggled free, turning to face the crew. He was puzzled as he was met with crestfallen expressions. What has gotten into all of you? I am doing fine. I'm eating enough. I'm exercising. But, your hair, you're wilting. Lincoln touched his hair, bewildered. Then he remembered, the dye. He started to laugh. Is that what this is about? I dyed it. It's fading away. My roots are showing. The fear didn't dissipate. Instead, they all seemed to shudder when he mentioned his roots. Lincoln leaned his head back, giving in. You know, it's healthy for humans to have pigmentation. I wasn't healthy on Earth, which is why my hair was gray. But you all have been taking such good care of me that the color is returning. Thank you. That they seemed to understand. He accepted the small signs of affection as they filed out of the mess hall. As they left, he silently hoped they wouldn't apply what he just made up to other humans they encountered. But then again, if they did, it wouldn't be his problem.
Aliens think that is very odd for humans not to have any colored patterns to attract potential mates, especially males. Excerpt from Observations of Human Ethology by Lechizier Lizard Supremacy, January 6th. Because my infiltration of human society has been a success thus far, I decided to extend my insider study of the species to the topic of human courtship. Previous studies have been largely unable to narrow down the specifics, and is the field of much debate among human-focused ethologists. Thus, I downloaded a brutishly simple AI called Tinder, took a picture of my face, copy-pasted the personality profile of another, successful user, and started chatting with humans. This did not work very well. It didn't take many messages before the majority of them sniffed out inconsistencies between what I was writing in the chat and what was written in the profile. I was accused of all sorts of things, but I was also given an interesting lead. A particularly vile-worded specimen gave me the helpful suggestion of joining a support group for autism. I have looked up autism, and it seems to be a group of people with social difficulties. If I can infiltrate this group, I can pretend to have the autism and hopefully use this as a way to better excuse my strange behavior when I slip up. January 10th, I have joined a human support group for the autism. There turned out to be one nearby. Frankly, I think this was both a good and a bad idea. Bad, because many of the people here are very unusual in their behavior and are difficult for me to predict. They are also strangely perceptive in a way that might be dangerous. They seem to avoid me more than other human specimens do. I'm not sure why yet. It might be because other humans tolerated some strange behavior because they thought I had the autism, but the autism specimen can tell instinctively that I am not one of them. Or perhaps they are just more sensitive than the rest of their species in some way I do not yet understand. They seem nervous and uncomfortable except for one young male named Jeff who is really excited, says he really likes something called sci-fi and keeps asking me about my people. I have avoided answering so far. It helps that another one called Joseph keeps telling Jeff that he is being insensitive and that he can't just ask people things like that. Joseph is definitely watching me like a hawk, though, and keeps whispering something to some of the others behind my back. And one of them keeps touching my elbow. Her name is Sally, and she seems really fascinated with the texture of my skin for some reason. Nevertheless, they have not chased me off. And their group discussions, which I have opted to sit at the periphery of rather than participate in due to how poorly I seem to fit into this group, have been most enlightening. When they are not playing social games where they pretend to be other made-up people, they often discuss neurotypicals, which seems to be some sort of word for pretty much everybody else. This has been insanely helpful because of how they will dissect and discuss any angle of neurotypical behavior in attempts to understand it, which has been both enlightening and confusing, to be honest. Today, the group discussions moved on to courtship. It seems that human courtship is very much full of contradictions. The autism people are of the opinion that, although the neurotypical like to side with a particular side of what is considered natural courtship behavior, there are in fact many natural behaviors and most humans adapt their courtship to the preferred methods of the majority, which apparently keeps changing based on parameters I still do not understand. I will have to continue my observations. January 17th. Today, the autism people did not have any group discussions and we kept playing the role-playing game. I am increasingly certain that they know something is off about me, because despite the fact that this is supposed to be a social game, I find myself at the focus of most of the interactions. Jeff keeps taking notes, and I think they're about me rather than about the game. I need to be careful. October 19th. God damn it! My superiors will kill me! Jeff just released a book called An Autistic Human's Observations of Lizard People. My one saving grace is that it is a book of fiction, but the content makes it undeniably clear that the autist people were watching me for research purposes. This is going to be such a mess. Lichigier's journal ends here.